Received an order from the CA. They're like burning bodies. Surround the serious people. The wind station immediately shouted loudly to spread the seeds seriously. Then quickly implement out how to mobilize the current. While the brass monks arrive, there are also countless seeds on the tree. They fly out and they look pale. Let's grow up. Immediately on the brass monks, there were countless young shoots. They see that a little bit. Glance behind to see the opinion of the tiger costume, but he just kept yelling. You can't stop barging through there and walk away. They heard his orders without hesitation. The fire was burning again, so to a certain distance is controlled by weakness. It is definitely self-deprecating. Continuous explosions that don't stop happening. The smoke immediately covered the entire school. Behind the hidden smoke screen, there's a shadow behind the wind. The mouth on his face could detect it. I am reminded to be careful that there are fish in the net. The wind station without hesitation turned the sword. A stab in the back. But when the Kier brass multiplier got hit by him, on the corners of the mouth, and then there's a very cunning smile. In one hand, it gripped the wind. Immediately, the exposed hand of the wind. It started to turn yellow. And so on and LAN up on the arm. The mouth quickly reminds us that this is the level of sentient beings. Cut off that arm. Don't let it infect you anymore. The wind station without hesitation dropped the sword, jump out the back. Then she called the mother of the sword. Then he's controlling it, cutting off the infected arm. Then he shouted seriously. Careful identification of the Kier Aret. They're very infectious. Don't let them touch you. Inside the dust, the sound of the serenity echoed. And then he knew he was going to do a spell. A great tornado immediately flared up, blowing away all the dust. In front of Asirius, there were also countless brass monks at this time. The rest of us were blown away by the wind. And some of them don't stop creeping up on their bodies. The wind station saw that. He then mobilized the long-distance sword to attack them. The program is also quickly implemented. The new school of healing for the two of them. The broken arm of the wind station. It slowly grows out. Infection on the body. The pain is also slowly restored. Restoration stand on the roof of the observation house, not in the heart of fear. To the assimilation of sentient beings, it can also be reversed. Then it's over. We can only rely on the big fight, Qin Yang's artillery. Weakness after complete recovery. Then I bow down and thank you very much. He didn't pay much attention. He answered the customer and then glanced at the wind station. Ask what the body of that Arhat is. I am quick to say what I know. Listen to the mouth say this trick is called sentient beings. It's a kind of magic that the great God of heaven used to capture the beast. And those who don't obey discipline, it's a trait. When you have a higher position, use this trick with someone who's lower. Then that person cannot resist. This technique can control the target's consciousness. It changes the appearance, even assimilate that person. 2 eyes closed and ask Cho. Even a little contact will be hit. The mouth immediately responded, yes, in the eyes of the Magi. Use this magic. Body, even if it's just short contact, it's enough to get infected. Started to assimilate, and now he's worried. That's annoying. In the city, there's a lot of sports monks hiding. Among us. Unless you can handle this. Tran Hung is in Lao's house observing the glass. When you see your friend fall into a difficult situation, your face drops, extremely impatient. As you can see his attitude, he asked, "You want to help them out there?" He looked up at her and asked if he could. I encourage you to look at him. Maybe it's possible. But that based on your prime minister and your fuzzy prime minister. Now over there. There is no way to turn the tide of the battle. Even though you have also seen the power of the inferno. Then Tran Hung bowed his head and his eyes wrinkled. But if we wait here, watching things get worse and worse, I really can't do it right now. The three princesses in Lao's house opposite spoke up again. Let him come over and encourage you. I encourage you to raise your head. The two eyes staring at her are so confusing. Three princess quickly explained. I can feel a different me. We're getting close to this world. I want to ask this little brother to help me. I encourage you to be a little awkward. But my pure blood, on the surface of this world, has withered away in the pursuit of chastity. If even he falls down, then the vitreous vein is my technique. Maybe there will be no chance to do it later. The three princesses replied. Then let him get stronger. So strong that can protect themselves in disaster-level combat. If we don't look at it wrong, the one he used before, it's from the pure land. Right, not where we are. It's not that there's a pink-footed fairy. Follow the military, SAO. You help him wake up to his magic first. Again, ask that genie to replenish him. It's not going to be okay. When I hear it, my eyes are closed. At the same time, serious people is still not stopping being. The brass monks attacked again. Class after class is countless. The wind station is both fighting and confusing. Seriously, are you feeling hotter and hotter? Calm down, she replied. Maybe it's the master's trick. When I finished, I glanced at the back. Min carpentry. I will give you half the power of the spirit. You are on high. Let's take a look at what the master is doing right now. Weakness carpentry without hesitation respond immediately. The blue light in his eyes quickly dismal down. Instead, on one side of the eye, a blue light appears. He quickly looked around. Avalokitesvara stands on the roof of the temple. France immediately appeared, according to his closing movements. The first column corresponds to the position of the pole, suddenly glowed. Then from inside, it shoots out an island of light, linked to the cylinder next to it. Just like that, the stone pillars, they're constantly connected by an island of light. If you see that, quickly report to the serious Hoa. He's standing on a copper pillar. It seems to be preparing something. That copper pillar is bizarre. I feel it very familiar, but can't remember. Wait, the copper pillar has changed. Column position corresponding to the truss and cos. It's all connected. It seems that something is about to appear. When I finished listening, I raised my head and looked up. At the same time as we arrived, there didn't seem to be a. He just raised his head. Then in the eyes of the cylinder gradually appeared. I saw that things suddenly appear. He turned his head and told him to touch the wind. You're the only one here. Then look at the cylinder and start thinking. That form, that low sense of existence, is easily overlooked. Ambient temperature rise high. In his head right now, suddenly, the appearance of the poppies appeared. When he came here, he woke up. Of course, it's a stray cannon. Right now, 7 of the 8 trees are connected. There is only one more tree, the Great War. He immediately shouted to the wind. Leopard direction. Use the long sword full force. The wind station heard that. I don't understand what happened. Strictly continued to shout. Not in time and cut quickly. The police saw him in a hurry. That way, you can keep the long sword. Then aim straight in the direction. A full force strike raw, as Strictly Hoa said. Looking for a car to go straight. The only remaining pillar of rock that didn't shine came. But at the same time, the light is connected. The pillars of Qin Tian Jiang. It's also close to the precinct. Based on the current speed of the long sword, certainly. You can't get there before dawn. The wind station is now deploying the long sword. Top meaning sword suit. In front of the sword appeared a plan. The sword flew in and disappeared. Then the plan appeared in front of the body. On the bronze pillar. Use the sword immediately from the inside. Qin Tianyang's light couldn't be connected to the bronze pillar was smashed by this one sword. If you see that, you breathe a little. It worked. The wind station turned and looked at him and said, I don't know, but it seems that earlier, the sword had cut something. Recovering on the roof of the virtual brain uttered. There's a missing corner in the 8-way Kim game. Qin Yang Yang's face also wrinkled, and the column of exchange was destroyed. But very quickly, he got it back. Spirit continues to press the hand of the law, but it's not cool. The battle is over, according to his cry. 7 stone pillars simultaneously radiate golden light, covering an area inside the VI battle zone. Under the ground, there is no stopping fire. The people in the city are horrified. Running out of the evacuation house. Run to the ground. The land is blooming. I saw the brass monks running away. He looked at the old man seriously and asked the old man, the Kier brass monks have retreated. What do we do next? His face was lowered and he looked to the distance. In front of what needs attention, it's not those sports monks anymore. At the same time inside the prison, your body is constantly shrinking. Tran Hung is now. It's outside the 3 princesses' prison. I heard her whisper something in her ear. After a while, I became a human. She definitely gave her hand. He broke down a horn on his head. Next, give the horn to Tran Hung to take. Fighting on the ground. You can use this horn as a weapon. How to use it? Then the heart's instinct will guide you. I saw Tran Hung standing there. The 3 princesses next to him spoke up. The horns of his promotion, as for mortals. It is not inferior to France. It will definitely have a big impact. Tran Hung heard that. Quickly go to get the Kier horn. I encourage you as you say now. I have also helped you to wake up the body. Before your carpenter's body. Using the blood vessel residue in that heart. Remember to find some great martial arts masters to practice. Chen Hung looked at the horn in the nodding hand. Thank you. I encourage you to keep talking to the guests. Remember your promise. After the risk on the ground Kier is eliminated. Use my blood for you. Metabolism for some wild animals. It only takes one of them to successfully interbreed. To get the magic and the general. The 2 of us are out of debt. At the same time on the ground, he looked at the stern undergrowth. Pay attention around a bit. Count it. Are there 8 copper pillars in the city? One of those trees may have been destroyed. If you hear that, you are surprised to see the left. Where is the copper pillar? Where is it? Very fast. His eyes noticed something unusual in the distance. Look at the bronze pillar slowly appearing in front of you. He's a little confused. I remember when the time came, there was obviously no such thing. Strictly replied. These copper columns are peanuts, the pillar that the master invited to cast. This weapon should not be called a national treasure. Have a low sense of existence that's easily overlooked. The person it burns will also infect. This kind of characteristic will be overlooked and forgotten. The dog is also speaking now. You remind me of one thing. Before you come. Looks like me and my friend. We fought with that AI, but we've forgotten. He looked at me seriously and asked outside of this. Is there anything else to pay attention to? Seriously, he replied, according to the related records, recorded in the grand jury. People or ghosts burned by this cannon. They will not be able to use weapons or great school to counteract the damage that the Dharma has caused. For most of the people in this world, being tied up on a stray cannon has only one kind of ending. It's being burned to death by peanuts. The school can't use it. Can you break it with physical force? Strictly shaking his head. Can't shackle a stray cannon cast from the core of the exoplanet. That's what human power is. And normal soldiers can't break it, or break it. Station face down. It also means it's absolutely impossible for the thing to catch. Standing on the rock right now. Continue to press the solution. This time, he's using two frequencies at the same time. It's the glass, the magic, and the talisman. After a moment, next to his left and right, there was also a glass and a talisman that transmits sound. At the same time, in front of the lake, there was also a spell. From the inside, then there was the sound of kin moving out. We have to use cannons to catch people. You let the monks out. To lock their feet. When you recover, nod your head. I have seen the glass appear. Then be alert. Without hesitation, bite the hand with blood drawn on the experimental hand. Right now, the monks have appeared again. Surround them. Strictly Hoa has just implemented dry item. Feng Spring just said, when we perform this magic, we can't move. You helped me recover from the beginning to the end. Neither do you. Just standing there endlessly. Order the monks to jump in. Frequency to yang. It's through glass to see the battle. I see serious people. Has been swept away by the brass multiplier. He stopped moving his chains and caught people. On 7 stone pillars, immediately launch 7 chains. Run towards the serious people below. If you see that, shout carefully. Kier's chains are coming. The wind station turned around screaming for us to deal with it. Next, the countless swords in his sword box flew out. The flying sword converges into a straight line of swords. 4 chains are coming. The 2 VA sides hit the chain and were blocked. Then he came out in front of a serious man. Against the rest of the chains. Strictly speaking up right now. Try to persevere a little more. My magic is almost done. Follow the sound of. He's the glass that the sun uses to watch them. There are signs of rapid decline. State of the wind after processing. A brass monk is hard to understand. There are only 6 chains. Just finished. At his feet there was an island. The wind station didn't have time to react. Immediately shackled, wrapped up into legs. Can't move. On one side of the cold face. The wind station was dragged by chains towards the pillar. When you see that, it reminds you seriously. Your friend has been arrested. Calm down, don't panic. Maybe he'll find a way out. Let's make the Kier hook stop first. Finished talking, he then developed Ra in the end of the Ha Kai school. The 2 chains in front were fixed in place. Can't move. The wind doesn't pay much attention. He looked at the glass and said, let's solve one first. The wind station was dragged away, constantly calling on the mother of the sword. Follow his call. Immediately, there were swords that did not fly. They didn't hesitate to stab him in the foot. Both feet were cut off in love. This situation is already the only option. The chain caught only 2 legs. There are 7 hopes to escape SAO. Right now, quickly put your hands out. Neoplastic magic development. 2 feet touch the wind, slowly heal. Chen Chan Yang saw that and laughed coldly. It is useless to burn it, according to him. 2 legs tied up on a copper pole. The fire began to burn. The wind station is below ground, nor stop screaming bitterly. Seriously, it is amazing to watch. Reverse is also not SAO. Don't wait for him to think. Recovery. Suddenly, he appeared behind his back. A thug stabbed him straight in the chest. There is no sword to help the French. You think I can't grasp your loopholes? When you're using the tricks of SAO's atomic legs. Very quickly from the wound on the chest, seriously Hoa. Assimilation magic has started LAN-Ra. The tiger looked at him laughing. Choose one of the 2Ds using 7 points immediately. Or bet. See if you can resist my assimilation. Or not. At this moment, a shadow came from the side alley. Next jumped down. Body 10 benevolent. Under the control of the white, face general. Look at the two people talking. I don't think he has to choose. Looking back, looking at the enemy. When is this little devil coming? 10 goodness doesn't say much. The right hand is a little red. Next, perform the 100 soldiers dance. Countless swords came out of the ground. Go straight to the tiger. When he saw that, he left the dance school. People later avoided. 10 good fast non-body chasing. When passing by someone serious, he paused a little and said seriously. He gave it to me. Go and deal with the man who arranged the battle in the city. Seriously, you can nod right away. Next, 10 good immediately rushed to chase the tiger. Looking at the shadows behind the two of them. It's not just the military parade. Even to you Min. The most unique gas in the world. You can also wake up to this level. This boy is the backer of the Traders 2 SAO. The yang frequency above the copper cylinder through glass. 10 things suddenly appear. It's amazing. New variable SAO right now. The devil appeared above his head. Your plan is about to be broken. My knees just jumped. I've just deployed raw 5 secret demons to rob 5 officials. From above him, 5 demons immediately appeared. They plummet down and clung to their bodies. And then he screamed. I took your hearing away. People's vision has been captured. Your sense of smell. Your taste buds I want. Then I'll take away your touch. Suddenly, he was robbed of 5 senses. The body immediately stood motionless in the spot of stupidity. At the same time, he knelt down from his sleeve and pulled out the wooden boards. Throw the wooden plank towards the frequency. Then he continued to press his hand. The next magic. It's the dark magic angel, the wind and the devil. They were surrounded by wooden boards. And then they all came together into a coffin. I locked him up and caught him. The coffin immediately fell to its knees in front of him. The capital right now. Suddenly, he appeared next to the coffin. On his knees, he said, this man is strong. I can't hold him alone. You give me a hand. Help us condense a soul-piercing nail. The capital nodded. It doesn't matter. He knelt down and then took out an 8 blood. Use a pen. Endlessly paint over the lid of the coffin. Then he put the pen down. The lid of the coffin was shaking. Shaking violently. The capital is next door right now. Has also condensed a soul-piercing nail. After a while, the Chinese knelt finished painting. The coffin is now trembling more and more violently. It seems like the innermost yang frequency is slowly regaining consciousness, trying to get out. The devil finished painting. Then he gave me a big shout. Next, from his sleeve, he had countless covers. Waiting for the snake spell to end up in the coffin. Can you get on your knees and look at the capital? The wind moved his soul in front of him. I can answer that, kneeling down to receive the soul nail. Then he raised the mantra. There is an order I carry out to wipe out the demon. Hung tin, crack down, crack down. Just said. I just hit the nail in the middle of the coffin. The radio frequency inside was immediately hit by the snail. Pins hit the chest very quickly. The coffin fell silent, and there was no more vibration. At the same time, underneath the underground cell, Chen Hong is constantly going deep inside. He clearly remembers when you two recommended him. I told him to go to the 7th cell on the left. Can go for a while. He stopped in front of a house. It must be here. Inside Lao's house lies an old man dressed in yellow cow protein. When he felt someone coming, he opened his eyes. Then sit up with your shoulders. Who's been doing that for years? Why are there still people who come to seek poverty? It is true that he is dead. This person is the first Red Moon. Tai Than Tao Master Li Dong. He picked his nose and looked at Tran Hung. What's wrong with looking for the poor? Tell me about the tricks of the nest. Take your body in another world. I won't teach you how much. I will not teach either. Tran Hung stood outside Lao's house from the beginning to the end. He was silent. The old man saw that and stood up and approached. Can't hear you clearly. This a lot to before hear you clearly. I never saw the opponent answer. The old man's eyes were a little wrinkled. Then he was angry and finished clenching the iron. You guys all saw that. The track didn't do anything just now. Is that this post-mortem didn't move? You have to testify for me. This time it's really not me. He looked at the old man screaming in front of him. I remember in my mind the image of when I was a kid. He was just a cleaning student at the time. Once casually tittied up in the library room. I accidentally saw the master's painting of Tai Than Tao. After a moment, he knelt down. He just talked to him. Master Ra at the top, disciple Tran Hung unfilial. The master's assistant after the master was killed. If you spend more than 25 years, you can't rebuild the mountain. Not only that, the master's great learning is also lost in my hands. Indeed, there is no face-to-face with the master. They hear the words of the enemy first. Stupid in place. Then I was startled. There is no more Tao. Chen lifted his head and looked at him. That's right. No more. The police officer kept scratching his head and asking, what happened to the demons outside? The sword of the gate hit Sao. Or the wind chief of this world and the emperor are not compatible. I want to learn how to change the world. Tran Hung quickly replied, they're not the best way to attack a mountain lion. When he heard the words, he fell into silence. After a while, I asked him if he was a bad guy. There's no other game. Tran Hung was a little uncertain. Probably not. Then the disciple went out to practice. Just in time to avoid a life. When he returned, the mountain was destroyed. That's the name. Was also suppressed by the Central Highlands. Gao arrived late. Li Dong heard it and sighed with his face. Who are these transmitters? Tran Hung murmured, sadly kneeling there not to speak anymore. After a while, Li spoke again. But it's also true. In this world, no thing is forever unchanged. Han is so strong, it's not the end of the world. The religion of the poor can be handed down for more than 1,000 years. It's not bad, it's good, it's good, he exclaimed. Once I saw that there was no AI. Angry, two big eyes looking down. I can see Tran Hung still kneeling there. The more angry they are, put your foot out and give him a kick. Not even to stand up. What to kneel on? I haven't heard the phrase, man is covered in gold. Tran Hung obeyed orders and immediately stood up. Li Dong now reached out to ask again. You paid such a high price to go down. What do you want to do? Additions of Sao. Tran Hung quickly recounted how it all was. There are players who arranged very wicked sacrifices in Henan. They want to take advantage of these unorthodox sacrifices to summon the fairies of the world. Through it, to achieve some purpose. We and our friends fight them. They fall into the underworld. We are in need of battle now. When Li Dong heard it, he was surprised. Play so loud why the crazy guy arranged these. Not afraid of karma. Don't die nice. That year's vision wasn't that risky. Tran Hung said again, the present existence of the world. It all depends on this time. If you hear that, cut it off. Wait, what does this have to do with us? When Chen Hung heard this, his eyes widened. I can't believe looking at him. If you see that, keep talking. This mountain is not under our control. Even if the sky falls, there is also national princes and the Kier clan families. Carrie, your legacy is lost and your legacy is lost. You're just a class of shrimp with nothing. You get involved in what the country does. Tran Hung said again, but if we don't stop him. Before I finished speaking, the reason interrupted me. So let's take a step back. When Taoism is destroyed, does the government have support? Don't tell me you're a bad boy. Moving from south to north, directly through the Sun Moon great battle that we arranged, without encountering any resistance. That's why the court didn't back up in time. Tran Hung thought for a moment, then hesitated. This doesn't really seem to exist. Reason Copper eyes wrinkled. This shows that the king doesn't care. To the destruction of Taoism. My eyes are also a little wrinkled. It's probably not that far. Give him a hand over the cup. Why not? I don't believe your court does not observe celestial objects. So many players. I can't predict what the deadline will be. Taoism will be destroyed. Then he pointed to Tran Hung's chest. They didn't come to prove anything. Prove they knew early, but didn't. Tran Hung was astonished and gaping out of his mouth. Li Dong who cold, what is this to be amazing about? The religious world, where the forces are on the opposite side of the court. It's hard to have a chance to see these splinters removed. In exchange, I am the emperor. I will also oppress my followers. Indifferent to seeing the sword destroyed. So do you understand? Because we don't owe anybody anything. So the change of dynasties around the world, it has nothing to do with us. Than the fairies of the world. Violation of the rules. The world is the emperor and the 6 fairies. It's right to worry. If the sky falls, there are people on it. They don't show up. There's a weird guy in the back. Hurry up and call your friends. It's better not to interfere in this. Tran Hung is still a little hesitant to say it again. Li Dong saw that, his face wrinkled hard to understand. After a moment, Tran Hung shouted, but if you are innocent, why? The calculation of the great character, something the disciple does not care about, but the cynicism of Han Am Dao. Students want to save as much as possible. When you hear that, your eyes are a bit wide open, staring at the enemy. Then break it up. Adults have style too. Come in. I don't think you have much time to delay. We will talk about. Inheritance is missing for you. Let's take our time. Chen Hung heard that and happily nodded in. At the same time on the side of battle, wounds and assimilation of tiger costumes. Right now has been severely injured by the elixir of healing slowly. After fully recovering, he glanced at me and said out loud, we've blocked these 6 chains. Please help me see a little. I'm looking for a master to crack down on the French. If you hear that, ask again. If someone comes over and takes them away, or they move automatically, I am here to remind you. Seriously, the answer is simple. Then the law enforcement came out. Sound transmission directional talisman if the situation changes. Use this to tell me. The tree nods its head. Sad, then quickly disappeared on the spot. The body left. After a while he went to the center. When he saw the enemy, he asked. Then the wind station tried to sit up. It's bad. The leg is cut off. Pulled up on a stray cannon, burning my feet. No matter how many times they are born, we'll repeat the process of being burned by the stray cannon. Seriously listening to that whispered thought, it's not like the record. The lost cannon of the god, it also has an incurable property. It can't reverse the damage. This is like dealing with the 7 stars. That's the Ra institution. After thinking for a moment, he spoke up. Let's think about how to break the war. Take good care of yourself first. Waiting for the city to be resolved. Then we go back and look at the records. It's called SAO to counteract the effects of stray artillery caused to you. The wind nods its head. Be careful. The next wave immediately disappeared in place. Somewhere else in the city, there are countless centipedes condensing. Very quickly, the body appeared. He looked ahead and asked, why is there no movement on the radio? Antarctic foot soldiers quickly came to the side of the landing. He's been suppressed by the master. It's amazing to hear that. Turn your head and look at him. Who is suppressing SAO? Antarctica foot soldiers calmly replied. It's the 4 jewels of God. The majestic prestige of the great world. Poppy patted her head screaming. What is he doing in recovery after all? Even internal consensus can't do SAO. More trouble for us. Antarctica's foot soldiers listened to that. Speak up after a while. Do I need to call him back? Let's talk about how to save the ocean. 2 eyes wrinkled. No need. Let him confine himself to the masters of the Grand Army. I went to the rescue myself. On the negative side of the ocean, he looked at the coffin below. This person is really good. Under the condition of 5 officials are still lost. It can also break the law, if we didn't have a calculation. I'm afraid it takes a lot of work. They can suppress him. Chang knelt and nodded. That's right, if you give him enough time to collect 10 pieces of intelligence. Flying the battlefield, maybe. If we don't finish, the ground below is moving. The giant star. It's coming up from the bottom. He opened his mouth without hesitation to them. At this time, the fire came down from the air. A right to strike the cold. He was killed by this trick of his. The devil saw that and did not speak. Stand there, looking at the enemy. Seriously, he also looked at him. Master has never met. Is the support that the Kier trader brought to SAO. The capital is also speaking now. This person is also strong. The devil nodded. I know him. He is the god of war. The capital of the Ming dynasty. There was a war. Alone against 4 disaster-class people. It's a little surprising to hear that. Alone against 4 SAO disasters. While they were talking, they didn't notice. Behind the back win, there's a little centipede here. Slowly approaching the coffin. Move to the 10 side. After a long chase, he's a little confused. Don't look around. No, this street is too quiet. Clearly the surrounding houses. There was no less breathing. Maybe there's an ambush. Right now from the houses next door. There is a sound moving out. Kill him, follow this sound. From the house, there were countless brass monks. The 10 heroes were immediately surrounded by them. The school quickly appeared in his hands. Immediately turned the school, and then you plug it into the ground and yell. The 100 soldiers perform homicides according to this shout. Beneath the land there are countless mirror blades. The brass monks are coming. They were immediately killed. Recovery is also in progress. Slowly approach behind you.